everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsor. Coconut Genmaicha, a tropically inspired tea. This hearty and comforting genmaicha pays homage to the traditional preparation with the addition of semi-sweet toasted coconut, pineapple, and rose. That's not only delicious, but inspires creativity. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. All right, thank you all so much for watching again. Shout out the Brothers Apothecary. Make sure to click the link below. The holidays are not over yet. Let's fill those stockings. But now let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hello, I'm Vince.
I'm Danny.
And we're Family Temple.
Hello, thank you all so much for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from and what you do?
Well,
yeah, go for it.
I'm from Portland, Oregon, and we make electronic music.
Exciting. Oh, yeah. And what about, are you also from Portland as well?
I am also born and raised in Portland.
Exciting.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to go ahead and start kind of individually with these ones. What got you into music initially? We'll go ahead and start with you.
Well, I've always been into music, but I just started playing music this year.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting. What led you to start?
I bought my first synth.
Which one did you get?
I got a Mavis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then a grandmother, and then it's kind of snowballed out
of
control.
Oh, it doesn't it always?
Yeah.
Before this room was this room, I definitely had a myriad of synths as well. Now I only have a Jupiter XM, but believe me, I fully understand. Shout out to my keyboard player, Max. He knows much better. And then what about you?
How did I get into music?
Yeah.
I guess it all started when my mom bought me my first guitar at age 13, which would be 1983. Mm-hmm. And along with that came lessons. And the teacher she picked out of the phone book for me was a guy named John Pinamonti, who was a guitar and bass teacher and also was the bass player for Oboe Addy. And he was my teacher all through high school, the only musical training I've ever had. I would have done jazz band in high school if they'd had it, but they didn't. And so that was all of my training. And when I was about 15 years old, he invited me to come and see Oboe Addy play at the Mayor's Ball. And the Mayor's Ball was a showcase of local bands. If you were in a band in Portland and you played your cards right with the Portland Music Association, they would put you on the showcase where the Blazers played in the Coliseum, I think it was called. They had a stage on each side, and you would set up, play, and while they were playing, and they would get a lot of bands in. And so I saw Oboe Addy and was very excited to see someone play music live, and saw a bunch of other bands around in other rooms. They had bands playing, and adjacent to the Coliseum, they had a little event space. And that's where they put the Mayor's Ball 2. That's where they put the alternative acts and punk rock bands and things. And I wandered into there, and my 15-year-old eyes were very blown away by what was going on. I saw Poison Idea play that night, Hell Cows.
That's a fun name.
They were incredible. And I don't know, Dharma Bums.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew that I needed to be involved with that in some way. And so 17. I graduated at 17 and then moved out of the house, got an apartment, and went to as many all ages shows as I could find. And I ended up hanging out at the X-Ray Cafe, which had just opened. And I hung out there so much that they asked me to work there. And so I was the doorman, sort of the third face of the X-Ray Cafe. And my little friend group included some people involved with a band called Hitting Birth. And I ended up sort of being taken under the wing of their singer, whose name was Steven Spirit, and he was their sax player. And he invited me to join a little dance troupe that he was forming to perform along with Hitting Birth. And I did that, and we went to like dance workshops and things like that. But what I really wanted was a musical role in Hitting Birth, and I was like 18 by then, and these guys were all over 21 and weren't interested in having an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I'm sure play, but I didn't understand it at the time, and I was kind of resentful. And so I went and formed my own little band. I was working at X-Ray Cafe, which is sort of the DIY live music, all ages venue. I met a lot of people and formed my own dance troupe and my own band. And we played for about a year. After a year, we were selling out, mid-size venues. And but we couldn't get people to write about us. We couldn't get any journalists very interested in us. We kind of had a bad reputation because we were high energy. We brought in a very high energy, messy, young crowd that didn't buy a lot of drinks. So while we were selling out, we weren't making...
you weren't making the venue much money, I imagine. Yeah.
Happy. But we kept at it, and we put out our own records. We couldn't get record deals without... pre-internet, without journalists, and the gatekeeping was pretty hard. But we kept going, and after about 5 years, we just kind of, we had put out some records. We even charted. There was a Northwest music chart that we made the top 5 in sales. We were played on Dr. Demento.
Okay.
But it didn't really go too far. And then I found out in that time, and there were other bands and things, you do.
Oh, there's always other bands.
Yeah. But I found out that you could go to college without being rich. I didn't know. I had to... come up with the money. But, I found out about financial aid and went to college and turned 21 in the meantime and started tending bar at Satyricon. And I found that making money at tending bar was a lot easier than with a band, and it was a lot less work.
Yeah.
And so I did that. I did produce some shows around town, Portland Organic Wrestling, among other things, and then had a kid, and he is a fine musician and actor.
Generational now.
Yep. And so I have focused my attention toward him. He has played with us a little bit and is welcome to, but he's very busy. So he'll probably be limiting his involvement to the studio.
Fair. All right. Well, thank you for that. All right. And for this next one, we're gonna kind of cover a few more foundational things just to kind of get to know y'all. And for this next one, who are some of your more current influences for the sound that you're trying to do right now?
I just talked, so
Well, I don't know if we kind of grab from very strange and different time frames.
That's fine. More, I just mean I don't mean now as in music now that's happening. Just
okay.
What music do you use to inspire the music you make now?
Boy.
Yeah, well,
a lot.
A lot. We've been kind of grabbing from some older pieces, even Nimrod Workman. We've been kind of sampling his voice and reversing it and creating some really eerie vocal tracks with that, but also just there's a lot of electronic bands that are pretty inspirational to us. I don't know who.
Danny is a real connoisseur of music. She's when I first met her, she was constantly going out and seeing shows, and we both grew up in a time in Portland where you didn't have, if you worked in a nightclub, which I did, she did. We didn't know each other back then, but they had a thing called Club Courtesy, where if you worked in a club, you could go and call ahead. You didn't have to pay. So you would make the rounds, and no social media. So you would just make the rounds and go to as many shows as you could in any given night. Of course, back then, nothing was really going on unless it was the weekend.
Well, I know who's really kind of been inspiring me lately is Fever Ray. And we got to just see them live. And that's was
exciting.
Pretty amazing.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like performance art and just pretty spectacular live performance. So
that's exciting.
Yeah.
Also, I think live music is kind of one of the best ways to find inspiration, especially right now when there's so much music available that you can just saturate with. Going and experiencing it being created by the people who made it. It's almost more important now. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pull from everywhere. We go to the symphony as much as we can. We're always playing different types of music. There's not a genre that we don't listen to and pull from. Yeah, and the way we do it is we kind of throughout the week kind of pull in, I'll look for sounds. And then in the weekend, we get together and we just play. And we tend to do pretty well that way.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into your writing process in a couple more questions from now. But we've got two more foundation questions to get through. And these ones, they're kind of core questions. They've been there since the beginning. And this first one is one we ask early. It's one we ask often. And it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Oh, mine was Nina 99 Luft Balloon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Solid choice. It was
like 83. Yeah.
And that's a great keyboard sound.
It is. Yeah. And a really,
it's rad. It's a rad song.
Yeah.
The video for that song is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Which is the album, the full album?
I bought the full album, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, actually, I think I split it with my dad. I only had half the money for it.
We'll let that count. That's a solid choice for sure.
Yeah.
And then what about you?
Well, I think I bought a lot of albums with my own money when I was a kid, but I didn't really like them very much. Like,
fair.
You had the option of listening to the radio or buying an album. And so I think it was Sean Cassidy, and I tried to like it. Everyone liked Sean Cassidy at the time, but I didn't really get it. I tried really hard to like it. I memorized the songs, but
that's fair.
I didn't care for them. I think the first album that I bought that I really liked, that was really life-changing for me, was I was hanging out at a record store called Audio Addict, and the owner, I think his name was Vance or Lance, and his girlfriend used to work at KBOO. She was a DJ there. But
shout out KBOO.
Anyway, but he you would hang out at record stores, and that's another one of the things you would do to meet people and to meet up with bands. Other bands would come in and consign their stuff, and you'd talk to them or you'd talk music. And Lance put on Zoog's Rift. And I can't remember which he put on, but I immediately ordered the whole. He didn't have anything on cassette. I only had cassette players. So I ordered the entire catalog of Zoog's Rift that day, and I memorized everything he's ever done. It's really cool music to me. I still love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then what was the first live show you ever went to? That was like one you like wanted to go to.
Oh.
Yeah.
I snuck out at 15 or 14 to see David Bowie
Oh, wow.
Spider Tour with Duran Duran opening. And my mom told me not to go, but I went anyway. And I'm glad I did.
Wow.
So,
yeah, I bet that was amazing.
It was.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that really like set off my passion for live music for sure.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's an incredible first show.
Yeah. I'd gone to other ones, but that was like the first, like, I'm going to risk getting in trouble to go to the show.
Yeah. I, it's been long enough now. I definitely, one of the first shows I went, because technically Ozfest was my first show, Ozfest 2004. Nice. But in my senior year of school, I didn't do like senior ditch day, but Motion City Soundtrack was playing up in San Francisco. I was in like the Sunnyvale area. Mm-hmm. And I asked a family member that'll remain nameless because my family watches the show. One of my family members helped me get the tickets, but me and a friend from a different school who had a car both snuck out of our schools and went up to San Francisco for the day and saw the whole show and then came all the way back and just went home like nothing had happened.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So middle of the day. Sure. Yeah. So it was like Motion City Soundtrack, Panic at the Disco, the Black Keys. And this was when Panic at the Disco was touring for their Pretty Odd album. So they kind of left the theatrics and leaned more into that like bluegrassy sound. Uh-huh. And it was incredible. It was such a good show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. Austin plays it all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail from the other half of the question. What about you?
Oh, my first show. Well, other than the Mayor's Ball, I guess, I think just because it was there and easy, I bought a ticket to see Power Station with OMD.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was a great show. Pretty good. There were nosebleeds at the stadium. And then there was one, I saw Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young there as well. And I was really disappointed because I heard that they just pass out drugs at concerts like that. And I didn't see any drugs.
I thought you were disappointed about the fact they did pass out the drugs.
No drugs, man.
Dang. Well, you win some, you lose some.
You're in the wrong section.
Yeah, that only happens in the middle sections and lower.
Very naive about what happened at shows.
There.
Better seats next time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's only for ground floor where they can hand them casually down below. Allegedly.
Yeah.
All right. Now, thank you for sharing that. Let's go ahead and get on into you as the artists. And we're going to get the easy one out of the way. How'd y'all pick the name?
Me? It was a family project. We're called Family Temple, and we do it at home. Some families go to church or go to temple. We play music every week, and so that's our Family Temple.
Okay.
Yeah, I could go deeper.
And so just to clarify, because I'm not 100%, how are you two related in this instance? Are you spouse, brother, and sister? Like, I'm sorry, I don't know the correlative.
Partner?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Partners.
Okay.
Partners, not friend.
Gotcha.
That
Gotcha.
Hate their others.
No, I totally understand. Just to make sure I pose the questions moving forward correctly. Yeah. So then I guess I'm interested to know, so you've been playing music for a long time. Mm-hmm. You only physically started playing music a year ago, but you've been listening and experiencing it adamantly forever.
Yeah.
How long have you two been together?
Is it 8 years?
I think 8 years. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What was the catalyst to get into it this year then? I'm curious to dive a little bit more into that, I guess.
Well, we've talked about it for years. Mm-hmm. We got a theremin years ago. And so I had been playing that on and off for like 5 years. But it wasn't just, I didn't connect as much to it.
It's an odd instrument.
It is.
It's incredibly powerful, but it's so like no pun intended, but it's so like finesse. You have to like really understand the tiniest increments of movements and how they play. And the people who can make the Doctor Who theme song with it, incredible. But it is an abstract instrument for sure.
And it's very ethereal, and you can create some really cool soundscapes with it. We wanted something a little different. And, you know, delving more into getting the other sense is where it kind of, the light went off for me. And I've tried playing the bass, and I've tried playing guitar. I've played drums. I've tried all these things. And then it was like, this is my instrument. So
very Giorgio Moroder of you.
So, and then we just started playing like this summer I guess
so. Yeah. Summertime.
Yep. And then we kind of just got a set together and
Did
just
a
kind of
show.
gelled. It kind of just took off.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then for this next question, we're going to get into your writing process. That's the usual next one, and we break it down into the chunks. But before we get into it, can you describe your sound a little bit for just, you know, the people at home who are checking this out for the first time?
Well, it's kind of spooky and a little dark, weird.
Horror movie music.
Oh,
It is
okay.
Sounds
kind
like
of
to me,
very-
like we'll be watching horror movies and we'll be like, that sounds like that's something we do.
We should do that for that movie.
Ah.
I think a lot of it has a lot of lore to it. We have stories that kind of go along with our pieces.
Oh, exciting.
We kind of interject our lives into characters from like the past. We both have a long family history in this part of the country. And so we kind of like play along and play with those ideas and like
Gotcha.
bringing our ancestors into it and making up stories like that, and like kind of bringing in that Americana folky kind of feel to it, along with the electronic stuff is kind of a cool, weird combination.
Yeah. Do you do any kind of like visual elements to go along with it, either like as like a tangible thing or like a visual experience behind you? How do you incorporate that?
You want to take that?
I try to incorporate a little light show when my hands aren't busy twisting knobs or whatever. I'll, flick on a light. I always wear a headlamp
Oh, okay.
when we play, and I'll put a strobe under my beard
Whoa.
and it lights.
That's awesome.
Pretty spectacular.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Did you know that there are certain devices that you can apply MIDI through that will MIDI into lighting?
I need to explore MIDI more.
So-
all of our equipment takes MIDI, and we could,
Yeah.
but we haven't yet.
Yeah, I found there's a controller. It's the American DJ DMX operator, I believe, that has a MIDI in.
Yeah.
And when I was in my previous band, Smooth Talk, we were a electronic funk rock group.
Oh, cool.
And we had an MPC that would play our drums initially, but it's a very nice MPC, and it was a heavy rig to bring with like racks. So we got a single rack unit that like would play all the backing tracks, and it had MIDI out. And we found out on accident that it would tell the lighting controller what to do.
Nice.
And so, this was with minimal to no setup.
Right.
So what my keyboard player did was he went and wrote the MIDI for the lights and then gave it to me. I imported it into the project. All of our lighting was ran off of our backing tracks.
Nice.
We never had to push a button or anything. So
Nice.
it's definitely worth checking out, because it is
Yeah.
like, I am the worst at lights. Like I've come from a world of pro audio and things like that, but when it comes to lighting, terrible at it.
Yeah.
But this was we literally plugged it into one thing, plugged it into the other thing, and plugged in all the lights, and it did it all itself.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so you could definitely assign that
Yeah.
to
And the lights.
just the general
and they went into the controller.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so the lights are run by the DMX operator.
Yeah.
And MIDI was sent out of our main device, but anything with MIDI could tell it what to do. So you could easily assign it to notes and things like that. So as you're playing and things, you can have the lights move with you in certain capacities.
Cool.
That on our
Yeah.
Amazon wish list.
Yeah. And it's now in your episodes when you go back to it later. you'll be able to reference it.
Remember.
Yeah. But that's enough about me jabbering. Now let's go ahead and talk about your writing process properly. And we're going to start right at the beginning. So y'all have a pretty consistent routine and you're pretty available to be able to, put stuff together regularly.
Yeah.
But when you get inspired to write, how does that process usually start?
Well, we usually just start playing. We just start with kind of rough ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I was saying too, we have kind of these stories that we kind of talk about through the week
Mm-hmm.
and write and ideas. And then we sit down and kind of just go through them and actually run through, I guess, a song or maybe even a whole set, 20, 25 minutes of...
Mm-hmm.
It seems like that. And we kind of work a little bit like loosely.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have a rough idea of what
outline.
we want, but then we kind of let it take it where it wants to go.
Yeah.
It's often like strung together movements too. Like we will decide, well, we want to do a 40-minute set.
Mm-hmm.
And we will... then we'll decide kind of how we want to build, and she'll say, well, this will be your part, 10
Mm-hmm.
minutes. And so I'll have something written that I will bring out and incorporate in its own kind of separate movement, and then we'll string them together. And because we don't like to really talk between songs, we like to keep the energy the same and kind of flow them all together.
So it's a little more like almost like a DJ set, but with synthesizers.
Yeah.
So it happens. And then, so when you say that you have something, like, do you actually like come up with a full segment that you'll bring to this concept, or does it stay kind of loose until that point?
I do. I'll just wake, like a lot of people, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll think of something. And I have to write these things down or I'm up all night. And so I'll jot it down, write it down, or if I'll have a song that I'll write independently and then bring it in. Like our last show, I brought in a song about how to exercise a spirit from you if you offended it. Or
well, hopefully I didn't.
We'll also do like live psychic readings on stage.
Oh, that's exciting.
But they're just incorporated into a song. So
Gotcha.
saying, hey, here's a psychic reading, you guys. But we kind of incorporate a lot of methods and string them together. And with an outline, and we'll say, okay, at about like 10 minutes when I do this, you come in with your little part.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And then from that point, once you have a song put together, how long does it usually take you to get to the point where you're ready to perform it?
I think it's ready to perform almost immediately, but we prefer to practice it pretty intensely. If there's a show coming up, shows are a great motivator.
Yeah.
And we love doing shows. And so if we've got a show coming up, we will intensely rehearse that show for, a week, really, like every night. Because we live together.
I was going to say, when you have the accessibility to do so.
Yeah, dinner will be over. You want to run through the show real quick?
Yeah.
So we do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when do you usually decide that something is ready to like put out and share with the world, like in not a show setting?
When we like it.
Okay.
And we are pretty good at, so far, we're pretty good at knowing when it's done and when it's time to let it go. I think it's taken a long time. We both have been visual artists as well, and that's sort of a training that you get in art practice, is when it's time to just get your pencils down.
Yeah, you have to call it at some point. That, and I think if you spend too much time trying to like pick out the little bits, sometimes it can take away from what becomes the next thing.
Right.
Yeah. Getting lost in the sauce of it all and such.
And we also, like, very often we'll look at things we've done a month ago and go, oh, that's terrible. And we'll archive it. It's hard, which I'm trying not to do so much, but we've archived a lot of old stuff.
That's fair. Sometimes that stuff you can come back to too with like fresh ears and eyes. Like I have a small catalog of things that I did when I was a fair amount younger that now I come back to and I'm like, oh man, I really do. I get what I was going for now. I just never saw it. So sometimes stuff just has to sit and age for a little bit.
It does, and especially in writing on a DAW.
Yeah.
You have to just put it away and come back because you're hesitant to throw things away. I feel like once they've aged a little bit and you've forgotten about that, then it's easier to throw things away.
Yeah, you can decide if it's something worth keeping or not. And I think, it kind of to touch on that, it's weird how we have all these options now. But it's crazy how it suddenly feels like clutter after a while. Like it feels like, your hard drive becomes, an episode of Hoarders.
Right.
Because you're just like, I have to keep this one little movement in case. No, like sometimes weeding through all that can take away from it as well. But I think it's still good to hold on to things and revisit them at some point.
It is. And yeah, that's why we have hard drives.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, don't we all? Terabytes is a weird number to have to care about. All right. Now for this next one, this is kind of an objective question for each of you. But out of all the songs that you have put together, either performable or put out already, just something that you have as a complete entity, do you each have one that you personally enjoy the most? And like more, I guess, is like a playing stance. Like I would hope you like how they all sound.
I think that new one we did tonight was pretty rad.
Yeah.
I don't know what the name of it is, but I feel like it's always the one we just did.
I gotcha.
Because, Welcome to the Family. That was rad too.
Yeah. I liked that one a lot.
I liked what you were doing, and I liked the sounds we pulled in. I don't want to sound like, we're rad.
I mean, you should
put it out if I didn't like it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you should like all the music that you put out to some degree. But more, is there a particular song that has like that moment where whenever that particular part happens, it just brings out a little extra something?
Well, like tonight when we were driving over, we were talking about how music like affects you. And I have a real deep experience of music like physically affecting me, like getting goosebumps or having some physical sensations. And we were playing tonight and I got that feeling by our own music. And
I love that. Oh, I love that.
Like, wow, this is cool.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
And then we were talking about, well, that's a good, that's cool. That's a good sign. So, and we're just trying some new things. And so that was pretty cool. But I think, we kind of are going into each piece that we're performing live as like a little entity. So it's like they almost like kind of live in that space. And then I don't know how long they'll be around, but it's like we kind of did that.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of moving to this next little part, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of almost like this little experiment that's kind of ever changing and growing. So it's almost more... It's not so linear. It's just more of like this kind of stream of consciousness thing.
No, I think that's a great answer.
She has a really good sense of music. She's really sensitive to music. And I remember one time I was writing a really dark piece about the growth of hate preachers in America. And, I had strung together a lot of quotes that I'd pulled from the internet. It's amazing what's out there and the things that these religious leaders say. But I sort of strung everything together, and she came in and she said, I feel physically ill from this. And when she does that, I know that we're kind of on the right track. She's feeling something.
Yeah.
And that will happen not only with, rough material, but also in a certain sound that, she'll say, oh, that just kind of made me feel weird. Like, okay, well, I think we have something then, if you're feeling weird.
Yeah. I like that description too. Sensitive to music. That feels like an additional experience almost. And that, like, I'm a big fan of the tactile experience that comes from listening to music as much as playing it. Yeah. So I resonate with that really well.
Yeah.
And then this is the last question in this particular section. This is kind of in the artist focused experience, but this is probably the densest question, but I think you're going to have a really good answer just based off of that. The show always focuses on what happens because of music, the experiences that we have with it, the things that are outwards. But what is the thing that like gives you the most from the music when it's just you and the music one-on-one?
Wow. Well, that is a deep question. Well, I think that music is just a real connection to whoever's performing it in a way that's really kind of pure and raw and can be very intimate. And I think that if we pay attention close enough, you can really get a sense of whoever's writing that piece. And so it's like this timeless capsule of a musician or a writer. And then you're able to kind of reinvent that or interpret it, which is kind of cool too. So you can take your own experience and put it into music. So I just think it's such a beautiful way of channeling creatively our inner worlds and experiencing others' inner worlds in a way that is not maybe beyond images or like a physical thing.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then what about you?
What brings you joy about making?
Yeah. What I guess not, but what does it give back to you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if it's joy, then please say joy. But
joy. There's being in that flow state that everybody really likes.
Oh yeah, that's a term I've been hearing hop up a lot lately. Yeah.
Whenever you're creating anything, and I think you can even get it when you're working or something, when you're doing something that you're passionate about, just getting into that flow state where suddenly you have a really, you have a real grasp on what you're doing and you're almost speaking fluidly. That's a really fun feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that can come out of anything you do.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think if it's just me, but I like the satisfaction of building community, just playing shows, performing for other people and other people performing for you, meeting other musicians and fans. I love that.
Yeah.
And also the feeling you get, the connection you get when you're moving people. Mm-hmm. I like that too.
Yeah.
Or like when at our last show, someone said, what did they say? But they said something like, oh, what did they say? Like, I feel like I was just indoctrinated. Yeah, brainwashed. That's right.
I don't know if that's
I guess I heard that come out of the audience, and I'm like, well, cool.
I offered you a free sticker.
Oh, perfect. One of us.
Yes.
You want them to feel something different, right? You want them to feel differently at the end than when you started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if it's just sort of like that shavasana, like after yoga, like I finally get to rest. Even if it's that,
a nap.
that means we've done our job, I think.
Hell yeah.
The nap.
I love that. Also, I just point out one more. I love the term timeless capsule. Like that, like
Did you say that?
Yeah. Yeah. That was one.
Timeless capsule.
Yeah. That jumped out to me so much more than just time capsule. And so I wanted that one's for me. And when I go back later, I can be like, I'm writing that one down.
You can use that.
Yeah, thank you. All right. But now we're going to go ahead and move on to the hypothetical questions.
All right.
And these ones that sky's the limits. They're all made up, so there are no wrong answers. Feel free to have fun with it. But this first one's pretty standard. If y'all could work with any one person who's currently alive, that's really the only prerequisites. They have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would y'all want to work with them? And you can answer individually for sure.
I would definitely say Kate LeBon. She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's a genius. Period.
Yeah. How would you want to work with her?
I think I really like how she produces, but also, just how she plays music is amazing. So anyway, really.
Fair. Yeah, just to be in the room.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I kind of think she's amazing.
Yeah. And then what about you?
She is amazing. I think it would be Kate Ferencs from Evil Sword. I really love her whole style, her creativity, the way she has been able, she and there's another guy in this band, Evil Sword, and the way they've just created this whole other world, sort of a goblin medieval peasant world, is really cool. She's very lo-fi in her solo work, but very expressive, and all in a very heavy Pennsylvania accent, which is really cool. The writing that she does is great. And yeah, I think she'd be great to work with. But there's so many.
There's a million at the end of the day. And then subsequently, who is a local artist or act that y'all are aware of that you would like to do, a show with or even collaborate with?
I would, if we are following them on Instagram, we would like to do a show with them. I think we're at the stage right now where playing live is such a motivator for us and such a creative, it induces a spark in us that we will do a show at this stage in our career anytime with anybody, almost. If we're following them, we would do it with them. I think, though, producing, I would love to work with Rob Wrong from Witch Mountain. I love his guitar sound, and I've looked into, on his website, he lists songs and artists that he's mixed, and I've gone through the list, and I just really like what he does. He's an excellent guitar player. Witch Mountain is a great band, and Rob Wrong, number one, but also anybody, Jerry A., who, I don't know, Smegma Studios would be fun. Mike Lastro.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it's supposed to be one.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I stole your one?
No, you can. Yeah, you're good.
Did you have one that you wanted to say?
No, that's he's
I was gonna say you definitely covered a bunch of them.
You brought up somebody the other day who from a record label who you said was producing really cool stuff.
Well, I think
I had never heard them.
There's so many.
Yeah, there are so many.
Yeah,
hard to name everybody.
No, totally.
If we follow you, we'll work with you. We love you.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. And then if y'all could perform anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access, building stability, power, guaranteed best show, guaranteed best line, like it could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be a venue. Where would you want to perform?
Oh.
I think if it was me, we've talked about.
Yeah, we have talked about this.
And if it was me, I think the Paris catacombs.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one, you'd have a built-in audience. But also the acoustics down there are pretty incredible. I just went there with my son Austin, and he said that it's the closest thing to a religious experience he's ever had. Was
wow.
Down in the catacombs, or maybe one of those churches that are made from the remains would be pretty cool. But yeah, I think the Paris catacombs, or maybe like the moon. Sorry, these are what I'm keep.
No, that's we technically defunct the moon because sound doesn't travel in space. That's why I keep it to sky's the limits. But
projected on the moon.
Yeah,
everyone could hear it.
True.
Yeah, the catacombs #1.
That's a solid answer for sure. And then what about you?
Well, I don't know. I was thinking about this because when we were talking about caves, and then I've been to the Carlsbad Caverns, and that would be kind of cool because it's like really deep in the middle of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we were like, why are we talking about caves or like in the middle of the earth? What about our music would suit that so well? But I think it kind of does.
That's a really interesting self-follow-up question. I love that.
So, or maybe just like a cave in general.
Well, there are a couple.
There's like, even that where, I don't know if you can still do this, but Multnomah Falls, you could walk underneath the falls. Do they let people still do that?
It's been a little while since I've been there.
Yeah.
Incorporate something with the falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, like inside the falls.
I think it's Silver Falls. You still can.
Yeah.
All right. Planning the next show, y'all.
But then the like getting electrocuted might.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can do anything, right?
Yeah. In this hypothetical, there are no limitations.
True. I won't get electrocuted.
Yeah,
perfect.
Do it wirelessly.
Oh, yeah. All right. Now, for the last question of the hypotheticals. And this one's kind of a fun one. Somebody asked a follow-up question that expanded this question even further. So y'all get the expanded version.
All right.
But if you could each get one more album from anybody, and they could have just put out an album yesterday, they could have never put out an album ever. But if you could get an album from any one person in history or present day, who would you want an album from?
I would want Nick Drake.
Okay.
Because he died way too young.
Yeah.
And he was amazing.
See, mine's always Hendrix because I'm just curious, like what he would have done in like 2008, like we're in that time where like guitar was really reaching kind of its spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Steve Vai was moving into video game music, so we were starting to really see kind of that true crossing over. So I always wonder, kind of that like what would happen with them now?
Yeah.
Like with all the knowledge and the direction and things, like how would they have turned out?
That's true. Yeah.
And then what about you?
Zoog's Rift.
Okay.
I have to go back to Zoog's Rift. He's been a big inspiration for me. His music, anyway. As a person, I don't know. His music was incredible to me. Still haunts me.
Oh, yeah. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. Why don't you guys tell us what we can look forward to in the beginning of 2024?
You want to take that, Vince?
Well, we have a show coming up. So it's one of those shows where you have to DM to get the.
Oh, gotcha.
So I don't know. It's a person named Jen Void is putting it on, who is an electronic musician, and we also have something with. Supposedly, I don't know. I haven't heard back from him in a while, but we're supposed to do something with Friends of Noise.
Oh, exciting.
We reached out for them because we do have a 16-year-old in the band, and they're doing really great things in the all-ages community, and we're supposed to do something with them. I hope we still are, but yeah. And we just got some recording equipment that we are going to be using and getting a lot more recording done, and we have a good amount of compositions ready to go and be recorded. The only problem is repatching the synths.
Yeah, that felt
analog.
Yeah, a lot of. All right, next one. Yeah.
So I think we'll be doing a lot of recording this year.
Recording. And I have gotten a few new synths lately. So, just learning new equipment.
Yep. One thing you can do, it's a little bit of work. I'm not saying there's like an exact thing that you can get that'll do this, but it's not as hard as one would think to make overlays.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for things like modular and stuff, where it's like you can kind of like, you can almost use like graph paper and just poke holes in the spots where they need to represent it.
Yeah.
You can make overlays for those kinds of things, and they can be crude or they can be put together, but then all you do is you throw it over, you dial it into it, and you pick it back up. So especially in that instance, I found that is very helpful. Yeah. So just something to take home if you want to. But for this next one, go ahead and look straight at the camera and tell everybody how they can find you.
Instagram @Family Temple Official. If you just say Family Temple, you'll get other things that aren't very fun. So just Family Temple Official on Instagram, and there are links to a lot of other things. Bandcamp, YouTube, I think, SoundCloud, a little bit. And it will be expanding. Facebook, yes, there's Facebook.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you would like to put on while you're on here?
Oh, I wanted to thank Shitcog for having us play with them for their EP release party last time we played.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they're awesome, so check them out.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. They're a great band. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think, now I'm blanking now. Katie Ray Smith, we want to work with you. We want to work with anyone we follow.
I gotcha.
Saying that, I know. And I had a list, but I'm not going to pull it out. Rabbit Hole, we want to work with you. So shout out to you all.
Oh, yeah. All right, now we've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second. Okay. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to Brothers Apothecary. Make sure to click the link below, get those stockings filled. But now for the final question. And this is entirely up to y'all's interpretation. I'm very excited for these answers. But what is an album that you feel doesn't get as much acknowledgement as it should, but you think it's one everybody should know?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one. My goodness.
An album.
Yeah. And it can
be like right at the top of my brain, but
yeah, this is definitely one of those questions where it's like as soon as you get asked it, you're like, I forget everything I've ever remembered ever.
I haven't heard anything.
And it doesn't have to be like the most like like your one shot opera, like just something that comes to mind.
I think Evil Sword's first album is pretty rad. I think they have Old Barn on it. That's a rad song.
Oh, and the Golden Toad.
The Golden Toad. If Golden Toad's on it, yeah. The Evil Sword, I think not enough people, especially on the West Coast, know about Evil Sword. But also, I've got to go back to Zoog's Rift. Zoog's Rift's Epicac, or Murdering Hell's Happy Cretins.
Can you spell Zoog?
Oh, it's ZOOGZ.
Gotcha.
Rift, like a rift in something. So, yeah, I think... He's a musician's musician, and a lot of
kind of like Porcupine.
Maybe. I've heard the name. I don't know if I've heard any.
He's a musician's musician for sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Matt Groening, creator of Simpsons, big fan of Zoog's Rift.
Yep, that makes sense.
I don't know if he's a musician. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Did you say one?
No, I can't think of one. I should be able to know this.
Yeah, you are so...
I listen to so much music.
So deep into music.
Too deep. There's too many in there.
I was going to say, maybe not...
Nico.
Well, yes. Okay, I was just thinking how Nico's later stuff was kind of amazing because... she worked with John Cale a lot, and John Cale's production on one of her last albums is pretty amazing. And I started playing the harmonium as well. So our Welcome to the Family song had me playing the harmonium. And so I was really kind of channeling also Nico, but like late Nico, which is kind of sad, but also kind of amazing too. I think she's kind of like underappreciated, and I think she knew it, and which makes her even more attractive to me because she's kind of sad and anyway, yeah, I would say Nico, but not the Velvet Underground years, like the late, like junkie years.
Gotcha.
Like,
Gotcha.
Sorry, but trying not to be, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah. That's a great answer.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I tend to listen to all these recommendations after, so I'm very excited.
Oh, okay.
These are both ones, they're all ones that I'm like, yeah, new stuff for me too.
It's very dark and sad, but like interesting.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for those recommendations. All right, we're going to go ahead and get up and out of here. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
This has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jam Box. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Vince.
I'm Danny.
We're Family Temple.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
That's a wrap. This is not a podcast. This is a show. Keep jamming.